Hey there, ADHD mamas. Welcome back. I'm Sarah, and today we're going to be joined with Action Jackson, my little Siamese kitty boy over there. Hopefully the editing doesn't make him look too weird. Today we're going to be talking about an ADHD toolkit, and we'll go over kind of like what actually an ADHD toolkit is, what you might include in it, what I've included in mine, and I have a tip for you to kind of help you get started if you want to make your own. So without further ado, let's get started. I feel like the name toolkit it's been bopping around the internet for ADHD, but it's just a kind of a weird misnomer because I always picture like a box of tools, when in reality what it looks like is physical items, things that are possibly virtual items or systems that are just going to make your life as an ADHD mom or person in general a lot easier to do. Just making things easier for yourself so that you don't have to work so hard, so you can reduce that decision fatigue, so you can just get things done without getting overwhelmed quite so much. It's just making life easier, basically. One of the big benefits to having an ADHD toolkit is for those days when you're really struggling. I know I have days where I feel great and I'm on fire and I'm getting everything done, and then I have days where I feel like I can barely get out of bed, but I still have to do all the things. And so it's designed basically for those days, but for all the days, but especially for those difficult days. I really liked setting mine up. It took a period of time, probably several months. I'm still working on it. So I got diagnosed 6 months ago and basically started working on it then, which will make more sense when I explain it more. But because I'm so forgetful, and I assume most other people with ADHD are pretty forgetful, it helps me to remember things as well. It helps keep your schedule in order. It's creating the path of least resistance so that your day can be simpler. What does an ADHD toolkit look like? It can be physical things. Like, this is most of what my toolkit is in, is a notebook. I have another notebook that I use. It can be things that are virtual, like apps on your phone, or things like alarms, clocks. You might go as far to say as it's how your home is organized, so how you can set up systems in your home to make your home easier to navigate and enjoy and be calm in, and use it as a functional living space to the best of what you need it for. How do you know what to include is the next question, and for that you kind of have to think about what you struggle with most in your day-to-day life, whether it's getting up in the morning and trying to figure out what to do right when you get up, what makes you overwhelmed, or like when you get really overwhelmed, how you can kind of hit the reset button so that you can calm back down and like get back to what you were doing and not have it like take over your entire day. Maybe it has to do with your ADHD in general, just learning more about it and trying to understand yourself better. Whatever it is, asking yourself that question is a great place to start to know what to include in your toolkit. Let's talk about what I included in my toolkit, because this might give you a few ideas, and I'd love to hear what you have in yours, or maybe you don't have one that you know of, but you probably do have something going on in your life that you use to help you. And those things, just hearing what other people use is so helpful, because you just don't always think of everything, obviously. So the first thing in my toolkit is a regular old notebook. I just write my schedule in it every day. So it goes over the main tasks that I have to complete that day, and the day that I have to do them. I include appointments that we have on there so I don't forget them, and it also kind of gives me a quick look at how busy my day is going to be, because if I end up putting too much stuff on my day, I already feel overwhelmed. So I can make sure not to schedule too many things. Like, maybe I want to do XYZ, but I really only need to do X, so I'll write X on there. And then what I started doing was, up at the top up here where I don't have any actual day assigned, I write some things down that I am continually working on, such as my YouTube channel, so that when I have time and I'm like, oh, what should I do right now, I kind of want to work on something, I can look up at the top of my notebook and work on one of those things. I would say the biggest part of my ADHD set of gadgets is this little notebook here, which is what I started about 6 months ago when I was learning that I had ADHD and a bunch of other things. And I wanted to have a spot to just put a bunch of information and different things. I'll kind of go through it with you. But some days I would be doing research and stuff and I'd write things down in my daily notebook, but I eventually get rid of these because I don't keep them forever, and I want to have a place to keep some of the stuff that I really wanted to remember and write it down more concisely, and so I started putting it in here. Some of the things that I included in my notebook are, I'm just going to tell you pretty much what all of them are because I think that might be helpful. But at the beginning I started writing down the different symptoms and facts that I learned about ADHD, and this is way back when I just didn't know anything about it. So I have things in here like you'll hear 20,000 more negative comments than a neurotypical person by the age of 12. Overthinking is a big symptom for women in ADHD. Forgetting where stuff is unless you put it in its home or like its spot where you're supposed to keep it. Like your keys. If you don't have a spot for your keys, you're gonna lose them. And even then, you still might lose them, but you have a better chance. So that's the first part. Then I also included, oops, let me see here. I also included, I'm gonna just zoom in here. I also included a lot about ADHD medication. It's starting to rain, so I hope that's not too loud. And basically what ADHD medication does, like scientifically to your brain and your neurotransmitters, and also odd little facts that I learned about it, like you shouldn't eat things that are acidic while you're taking a stimulant because it may make it not work, or during certain times of your hormonal cycle, your ADHD medicine may not work at all as well. Then I decided to write out what is ADHD as more of a scientific explanation to how I would explain it to other people in my life. What I wrote here was your body does not produce enough dopamine, therefore you have low motivation, low energy, because your body's trying so hard to balance. Your mind is trying so hard, your brain is trying so hard to balance. Then kind of where hyperactivity comes in. Girls may have the overactivity more in their head, overthinking, fidgeting, depression, and maybe eating disorders and stuff like that. Kind of a way to explain it to other people around me who, like me, didn't know what ADHD was, or maybe not know very much about it. The next section in my ADHD Toolkit notebook is a section that has quotes in it that I heard while I was researching that I just really want to hold on to, such as Dr. Ned Hallowell's boredom is my kryptonite. I actually had that put on a shirt. You probably saw it in my crafts and hobbies video. Other quotes that are something to remember, a decision made today may be the right decision for now, but tomorrow it might not be the right one. Therefore, if I try something and I decide that I don't want to continue, it doesn't mean that I'm failing. It just means that that's not working out. That's not the best to continue with that thing. I also wrote down triggers for things that would set me off into like an overwhelm spiral. I don't have these as much anymore, but I was really, really struggling with, sometimes I would have panic attacks, or I would just get really overwhelmed, and I could kind of feel it coming on, and I was trying to figure out what it was that would trigger it. No matter how, embarrassing it felt to name that particular trigger. One of my triggers is dashed expectations. So if I have an expectation to do or go do something and we don't end up getting to do it, that's like something that just like really makes me crazy. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's happened to me so many times, or maybe flakiness kind of comes into play there. Another trigger I have is loud places. Then I also came up with a reset procedure to help when I'm getting into this feeling of like, I can feel like this anger and rage, or my heart's pounding and I just feel like I'm really getting overwhelmed and it's getting out of control. And so my reset procedure, I'll read it to you. Pause and breathe. Take a moment to determine why I'm feeling poorly. Like maybe it's one of those triggers. Then I do a body check, which just means like, have I eaten lately? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Maybe I need to go change my clothes or just go in the other room, take a few minutes, wash my face, stretch, declutter my mind. I can write everything down. Last step is to reset my environment, maybe putting on music. Sometimes I'm just exhausted and I need to look at my days to do and change things. Another popular thing I see people include in their ADHD toolkit is called a dopamine menu. And it's just a list of different things that are supposed to give you dopamine so that you can just kind of charge up your day, re-energize, rejuvenate. A lot of people will divide these into appetizers, entrees, main course, desserts, that sort of thing. An appetizer would be petting the dog. I find every time I pet my dog, she's so sweet. I just like feel like my spirits are lifted, you know. Going outside. I like listening to podcasts a lot. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast while I'm cleaning. I put decluttering on my dopamine menu because that can produce a lot of dopamine for me. However, it's also tiring. So you kind of have to gauge the energy level of what you'd want to do at any given time. But if you have a list, then you can just pull it up or maybe even pin it to your wall and have it available. A big thing that I learned a few months ago was the difference between rest and distraction. And a lot of times us moms, us ADHDers, we get into this mode of production, getting things done, just go, 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 and we just don't actually rest. And the difference between rest and distraction makes so much sense. Like, so example, rest would be turning your phone down, so you're not looking at your phone, maybe doing stretches for 10 minutes, or going for a walk without your phone. Or if your phone's with you, you're not looking at it. You're just kind of walking, you're looking around outside. It could be laying down and taking a nap, or just laying down for 10 minutes, meditation, or taking a bath. Difference is distraction is something where you may think like that you're resting, but you're actually not. So maybe watching a YouTube video or watching TV may seem like you're resting, but you're not actually kind of resetting your nervous system. You're still being pulled into this ongoing thing. You don't actually have a moment to reflect and think about where you're at the moment, how you're feeling, what you need to do next. A lot of times I'll get into a place where I'm like, I don't even know what to do next. I need to prioritize, I need to figure out what's next to do. And if I don't actually take some time to rest, then I can get myself into this place where I'm overwhelmed and I'm just kind of scatterbrained. And I think it helps a lot to just slow down for a few minutes. It's very, very difficult to do. It's something you have to practice, I promise. There are 3 more things in my little ADHD notebook. I have definitions for words that have to do with ADHD. I have some really helpful resources that I came across and didn't want to lose, so I have them all in one page on my notebook. And also other things that I'm trying out or exploring, such as tea parties. I've done one tea party. I have another one coming up, but that's something that was a hobby I wanted to start trying. So I was writing stuff down in my ADHD notebook about it. Yay, on to the next part of our gadgets. I'm going to move into some of the virtual gadgets that I have. I just have a few. I actually didn't think I had any, but then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, I actually do have some apps that I use on my phone, because I hear about all these apps people recommend for ADHD, and I'm like, I'm so skeptical and I don't know, negative probably, that I don't want any more stuff on my phone. So my number one tip for apps on your phone is honestly to just go through your phone and delete a bunch of crap off of it. Delete your games or social media. I understand if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine too. Maybe you can make it harder for you to find it on your phone. I reorganized my phone so that I only had a couple pages of the apps that I use all the time, like my banking app, my notes app, Obsidian, settings, because for some reason I can never find the settings on my phone. So I made those front and center. So I literally have just 4 things that I use on my phone specifically. And the first one, Google Calendar, I put all my appointments in there. And if I'm out and about and I don't want to forget to do something on a particular day, I'll write that in there too. The other thing that I use, and I don't use as much anymore, is the Obsidian app. And it's just like a journaling app. And I don't like journaling. I don't really write my feelings down much, but several months ago when I had a lot more turmoil and a lot more emotions in my life, like I don't right now. I would write them down in the Obsidian app. I also like to use my phone alarms a lot, probably like everybody else. I don't have a ton of them that I use. Alert me when I should take my medication, because a lot of times I forget about that. Another helpful thing that I started doing with my phone alarms was putting an alarm for when it was like time for me to like go get ready to get my toddler up from her nap, because I would get distracted on YouTube and whatever, researching stuff on my phone when she was sleeping, and I would just like, time would get past me and I would be like, oh, I didn't get anything done that I needed to actually get done. The final app on my phone that I really use the most is my notes app. I just put a bunch of anything that I'd probably write in my notebook, but if I'm out of the house or I don't want to go get my notebook, then I can write it down in my notes app. So it might be a list for the store, it might be a recipe, a list of places that we want to go, fun things to do over the summer. One other thing I wanted to talk about briefly, in the spirit of making things in the path of least resistance for your life, is having different organizational things in your home. I don't know if you consider this part of the toolkit, but things like keeping your clothing in clear bins has really helped me, or open shelves and wearing a lot of the same clothes, kind of wearing a lot of the same outfits. I'm not a minimalist by any means, but it's nice to not have to think about what to put on if I'm just going to go out shopping. Kind of like the reduction of decision fatigue. And I have a super handy table near my door where I leave my purse, and I put like our waters or anything for my toddler, anything that we're going to take with us when we're going to go somewhere. I just kind of set it right on that table, and it's like a gathering place for before we leave. Awesome. Well, we kind of went over the logistics, the basics of an ADHD toolkit or ADHD accoutrement, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. I'm sure you can come up with something better. And if you do, write it below, because I'm still looking for the best name for it. So I'd love to hear what you want to put in your toolkit. I'm thinking maybe about trying like a vlog style video next. Ideas that you can implement. I will possibly try that next time. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye. I'm like in a rolling chair, so this is very distracting for me. My toddler is currently supposed to be taking a nap, but instead she's tying something around her ankle. Well, it's better than the day that she took off all her clothes and peed in her bed. Kitty, 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 meow. Kitty, 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 meow. Kitty, 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 meow.